My name is Ned Paulson. I'm on the board of the Friends of the Reservoir, and I'm here because I think it's very, very important that we preserve this place. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing. Where have all the flowers gone? Long time ago. Where have all the flowers gone? Young girls pick them, every one. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn?
Good afternoon. We're at the Larchmont Reservoir off Weaver Street in Mamaroneck. It's a 60-acre property here. Still beautiful wild and water and land, and the Friends of the Reservoir have just held their 4th annual Ice Cream Social, which is the great social get-together which this organization has carried on since 1981. The purpose of the Friends of the Reservoir, in collaboration with the Life Center, which, as you all know, is a very key organization in this community, has been to preserve this wonderful property in its wild state for the beauty that it has, for the recreational value and educational value it has, and also for a very, very important purpose that has to do with the water that sometimes gets into your basement. We have here some people who know a great deal more than I do about this. We're all members of the Friends here, and we hope you will be too sometime if you're not already. And I'd like first to introduce my old friend Mary Ann Johnson, who knows a great deal about the natural ecology of this area, and beside her, Dr. Alan Mason, who is the chairman of the Conservation Advisory Commission and an expert on the other aspect which has to do with flood control, and Mr. Ortwin Meyer next to him, who has been doing a particular study on that flood control question. But first, Mary Ann, would you say a word about the ecology of this area and how important it is?
Well, the beginning of the Friends of the Reservoir, before the Friends were formed, one of our life naturalists, Mackie Bennett, had attended a village board meeting at which the subject of the possible sale of the Larchmont Reservoir for a development was raised. This was in June of 1979, and at our last naturalist meeting of that year, she told all the naturalists who had already been using the trails set up by the Conservation Advisory Commission for classes in outdoor education here, because we have a lake, we have 2 lakes, and we have a stream, and we have woods around, and the naturalists were all so concerned about the possible loss of this very important watershed area and the surrounding lands that soak up some of the floodwaters, that we all wrote a letter which we sent to the Daily Times. And following that, in November of that year, the Friends organized. And I'll introduce you to Alan Mason now.
Well, thank you, Mary Ann. You've provided me a perfect lead-in for what I was thinking. The sale of the reservoir and its ultimate development would have greatly increased the rate of runoff of the rainfall in this area, coming downstream and flooding some of the homes along the lower portion of the Sheldrake. The reservoir acts as a natural retention basin and a natural flood barrier, and its development and being kept at full level would have created real problems for us. We were delighted to have the Friends of the Reservoir become involved in this, and one of the goals that was set aside for the use of the reservoir is flood control. Now, to my right is Ortwin Meyer, an engineer who has been spending a tremendous amount of time getting the data together so that we can talk to various people and know what we're talking about when it comes to what has to be done to utilize this for flood control purposes. Ortwin, would you like to say a few things?
Certainly, I would be delighted to do something. When I heard about the water reservoir the first time, I learned that somebody wants to take the reservoir, let all the water run down into the sound, and just create new housing and developments. Being a great nature lover, I certainly responded to the first I heard about this debacle and I put quite some time in to find out what can be done about it. I love water, I love nature, and everything done properly, everybody will enjoy it, everybody will take advantage and will benefit from the good things about our whole cycle in nature, that is not only forest and grass and trees, but also water, rain, and rivers and creeks. And we believe that we can really develop the whole area with everybody's help to the satisfaction and the benefit for all around. I would like to close here with my remarks on it. I am a civil engineer by profession, and I will put everything into it to make that a success.
You've done a lot of work on the dams, haven't you, Ortwin? The safety of the dams? And
Yes,
also
the Corps of Engineers has approached the village and have claimed at certain periods that the dam must be restored. It was leaking on some point, and we looked into those things. There was no immediate danger. We have to see how the precipitation is and how it influences the water flow into the dam and how the water would run over the spillway. And we are quite satisfied what has been found out so far.
But I say just one more word about the flood control aspect. And by the way, Wallace Irwin is my name. I guess I forgot to say that. I have been learning from Alan Mason and others about flood control, and I didn't realize until a year or so ago that the waters that come through the reservoir here and go down the Sheldrake River and into the village of Mamaroneck originate way up in Scarsdale, some of them as far as White Plains, and some of them in New Rochelle. So what we have here is a problem which concerns several different municipalities. And one of the big problems of coordination and of government is to get those municipalities together to work on a plan which will keep the water out of your basement. I think that's to put it in its simplest form. Thanks a lot.
Not only did we try to stay on the local level, but the national...
No, it's the County Soil and Water Board.
It's the County Soil and Water Board in White Plains, who are very open and very helpful in all our plans, and they support us wherever they can. At the present time, they have taken all data about precipitation, about runoffs, which changes as we have a new development somewhere. The runoff of water is different, how the water is reaching the river. And they are now ready and give us a computer readout that they have arranged so that we can see exactly how much water will run down the river if a certain amount of rain is hitting our grounds.
One of the important people on the soil that works for the Soil and Water Board is working for the Soil Conservation Service of the Department of Agriculture.
That's correct.
So you were right about the
That's
national aspect.
Just sitting back here and realizing that through the efforts of Jim Johnson, who is now with us, Mary Ann's husband, has taken several different groups over the last couple of years that were all working roughly in the same direction, and in such a quiet and effective way has put together a good, solid working group and brought the expertise available together. And I think we all owe a great vote of thanks to Jim Johnson for his efforts.
Absolutely.
And as I look, without Jim, Wally and I would never have gotten together. Without Jim, I would never have gotten together with Mary Ann. Ortwin had never been involved. We've all been drawn into this by Jim Johnson in his own.
He's the most devoted person among all of us.
Yeah.
My name is Jim Johnson, and I'm president of an organization called Friends of the Reservoir that's dedicated to the idea of preserving the reservoir for conservation, flood control, quiet enjoyment, and also appreciation of local history and other similar advantages. This is a beautiful property, 60 acres, more or less, that was for many years Larchmont's source of water. Since 1975, it has no longer been used for that purpose. And when we were formed, there was some danger that the village of Larchmont would sell it for development in order to avoid the taxes that, as the water department, in effect, had to pay to the town of Mamaroneck and the city of New Rochelle, where the property is located. It's not located in the village. I've found that we have a very broad support, and we're very pleased that last Monday the village board introduced, one of the board members introduced a proposed local law that would dedicate the reservoir for the uses I've described in perpetuity. There's a public hearing held, scheduled for October 1st, after which the board members will vote on it one way or another. If they adopt it, it will in fact be dedicated in perpetuity. In order to change the purposes and to use it or to have build something here, you would have to get an act of the state legislature to permit it. And of course that can be done if the community on a broad basis agrees that that is a desirable thing. But it will be examined at that time, and in the meantime we will know that it is available for the kind of uses we're talking about. It has been used for a lot of these purposes, flood control particularly, for many years, particularly since 1975 when the first trails were built. But that has just been on an ad hoc arrangement between the town and the village of Larchmont, with the village of Larchmont retaining the right and indeed at one time contemplating that they would sell it at some time.
I'm Assemblyman John Perrone, and it's a privilege and pleasure to be here at the fourth Friends of the Reservoir gathering. As you can see behind us, we have a bald eagle being demonstrated to the youngsters, but this is a symbol of what we're having here. We have a beautiful, wild, natural area that we're trying to preserve on the town level, the village of Larchmont level, and of course on the state level. I was a town councilman when this organization, the Friends of the Reservoir, first organized, and Tom Amlick, who's your present town councilman, was one of the organizers. He was then on the Town of Mamaroneck Conservation Board. As your assemblyman, I hope to be introducing legislation that will allow the town and village to dedicate this land permanently, forever, as a natural wildlife reservation area. That means that no one could ever build commercially or residentially here unless the state legislature undoes it. And it's very difficult, I can tell you, to undedicate natural land in the state legislature. We're very much for environmental situations and conditions here. So let's all hope that the Village of Larchmont board goes along with so many of us and moves to dedicate this land and allow us in the legislature to pass that legislation. Thank you very much.
My name is Tom Amlick. I'm a councilman in the town of Mamaroneck. And it is likewise, as John said, a pleasure to be here today for the fourth annual ice cream social of the Friends of the Reservoir. Back in I believe it was 75 or 76, when I was chairman of the Conservation Advisory Commission, our commission recommended that this reservoir be used as a conservation area and also be used as a flood control device. Back then, we got the permission of the village of Larchmont to set up a conservation area, and we created at that time the trails that are currently go around the entire reservoir. Over the years, it has not only served as a place where people could come and have a quiet, peaceful time in the woods. The woods here are just like the Adirondacks. But it also, this reservoir has served another very important purpose for people in the town and the two villages. This purpose is that it is a flood control device. In other words, when we have heavy rains, the water is held back in the reservoir, and this keeps the water from inundating the homes that are down below the reservoir. As a matter of fact, it's the responsibility of our town engineer to lower the reservoir before large storms so that it can hold back more water and thereby prevent the water from going downstream and inundating the homes along the Sheldrake River. We are naturally hoping to keep this reservoir as a conservation area and as a flood control device. And you have just heard John Perrone say that he is going to introduce legislation in Albany in order to see that the legislation is passed to dedicate this reservoir for all future time. I am obviously in support of dedication of this reservoir. I think I can speak for my fellow town councilmen. We are also in favor of dedicating this reservoir, and we hope the reservoir remains just the way it is today, a beautiful, restful place for people to come and have relaxation. Thank you very much for asking me to say a few words.
My name is Joe Vandernoot. I've lived in Larchmont for 41 years, and I have served on the town council and also as town supervisor. I left office at the end of 1979. As far as the reservoir is concerned, it's a place that I've known about, visited for many years. I was once a trustee of the Westchester Joint Waterworks, who rent part of the property here. And when there seemed to be a movement afoot to possibly dispose of this beautiful piece of land and have some development take place up here, I joined a group known as the Friends of the Reservoir. I have been on the board. I have been liaison to the town board and the village board. And I am very, very pleased to find that the village board has made what we consider to be a very intelligent and very forward-looking decision to preserve this beautiful piece of paradise up here.
I'm Jim Anderson. I'm a trustee in the village of Larchmont, and I'm the liaison to the Conservation Advisory Commission. Joe Vandernoot is the guy who introduced me to the reservoir and led me around this property a couple of years ago. Like many people in the community, I wasn't even aware that it was existed, nor was I aware what a terrific natural treasure it is, in addition to being an important piece of the flood control scenario for the village and the town. We have been working for some time in the village to get this property dedicated for passive recreational use, and we are holding a public hearing on the 1st of October 1984 on the resolution to do just that. It's been a long time coming. There were many things that had to be worked out, including some parcel swaps of land with the city of New Rochelle, which took a little while to get spelled out and done, and that is now done. And I'm delighted to be part of a village board who is interested in taking this sort of action to preserve this property. It's very unique for a 1 square mile village to have such an opportunity, particularly with a piece of land that's not really within the confines of the village. But the town of Mamaroneck, the Conservation Advisory Commission, the Friends of the Reservoirs, a number, and the Life Center, of course, a number of groups in the community have worked for a long time to make possible what we are planning to do, and have turned this into a terrific asset for the community at large.
Where have all the young girls gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young girls gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young girls gone? Gone to young men, everyone. When will they ever learn? When will they ever learn?
My name is Liz Stern. I'm the former director of Life Center. About 4 or 5 years ago, when we became aware that this property was endangered and was possibly going to be sold for development, we as an environmental organization became very concerned about its preservation. And we're very happy to say that we're anticipating very soon that perhaps the dedication of this as a forever wild piece of land very close to all of our homes will be preserved. There are many reasons why it is necessary to preserve this piece. It's very unique for its historical qualities. It's a sanctuary for many of the migrating animals and birds that fly through here. And as a water supply for an emergency, it will be used, as well as one of its most important reasons, and that is for the flood control that we are able to use it for at this point in our time. Thank you.
My name's Bill Robinson, and I've just done a program here at the Larchmont Reservoir. We brought a variety of wildlife down, and Basically, we tried to talk about why these animals are so important to us in nature and what special adaptations or features they have on their bodies that enable them to survive. This is a young great horned owl. He was born this past spring. This is a very common bird around the reservoir, but one we don't see very often because they like to hide during the daytime. But in controlling numbers of small animals, especially rodents, these owls are of tremendous importance to us and are now protected by nature. So we had a good time here, and hopefully we learned a lot about the wildlife of this area.
Dorothy Rainier, and I'm a naturalist with the Life Center. And one of the things that I do is take children on walks here at the reservoir. Each walk lasts about an hour. We take them along the trail and we look for plants, different kinds of plants that are growing. And today we found some holes in the ground that the children are very interested in. Probably mice or voles or shrews live in these.
So that we can enjoy it and our children can enjoy it all. And we're almost there. Is that right? Mary Ann's husband, Jim, is one of the instrumental fingers, everybody. Founders of the Friends of the Reservoir. Good. How about if we divide it into fingers? And we're going to attempt to come from here all the way around, learn as we go, and end up back here in an hour. All right? I just thought about for Sonic. You're ready. This is the time of year for frogs. Come here, honey. And what are they catching?
Lots.
Right, insects. Lots of insects. Here, but there are lots of insects now. Marianne?
Hi, I'm Eric Lottie, and I'm Neil Scunplan. Yeah, and we came to the Larchmont Reservoir Ice Cream Social because we feel that the reservoir is very important in keeping wildlife active. What do you think?
Well, it helps keep the brook from overflowing. And
hello, I'm Jim Amlick. I'm Star Class rank from Troop 5 Mamaroneck. I may be working on the trails here for my Life Merit Badge. And it's basically a place where people can get together without a lot of people around and everything. And it's pretty nice.
Well, my name is Paul Daniel, and I'm here because I decided with my Cub Scout troop to attend the ice cream social, and I think it is important that we save the reservoir because it is a beautiful piece of natural life and that we should all learn from it. Thank you.
I'm Suzanne Carpenter. This is my husband Randall, our daughter Christy Carpenter. We've come today to the 4th annual ice cream social because we're great supporters of the reservoir. I personally love to walk here. It's a fantastically beautiful place, very peaceful.
I think it's important because so often we're losing our heritage in such close quarters in which we live here, and this is one of the last preserves of a heritage that's going to be valuable for the children and for our families.
Well, I like it because when I grow up, I want to be a naturalist and want to study all these very important animals.
Where have all the young men gone? Long time passing. Where have all the young men gone? Long time ago. Where have all the young men gone? Gone to soldier
I'd like to thank the Life people and the Friends of the Reservoir for this tremendous gift that they gave me today in recognition for my time working here with Mamaroneck over the past 20 years. This one project here at the reservoir is one that's been a seed that was planted many years ago and now coming to fruition. The flood control problems that we've had are pretty well licked unless we had a real bad storm. And the joy that I had coming here as a pilot project with the town as an action group has grown to encompass all of the communities now spreading into New Rochelle and the complete watershed of the Sheldrake, which we hope will be organized in the years to come. There's a great deal to do, and I'm thankful that I'm a part of it. Thank you.
But what we need is a lot more members of the Friends of the Reservoir and Life Center. Thank you.
Where have all